Welcome to the Writer Groupie Podcast. I'm Kim Smith, the writing guru, bringing you discussions, insights, and insider details on planning, producing, promoting, and profiting as a writer. This is a podcast by writers for writers. You can find out more about Writer Groupie at www.writergroupie.net. And here's the next episode of Writer Groupie. And welcome to Writer Groupie, episode 57. And tonight my guest is Sean Grigsby. Sean is a traditionally published author who's been working in the shadows since 2008. His work has appeared in many print anthologies and a creepypasta on YouTube. He's a reviewer and slush reader for Grimdark Magazine and former associate editor for Dark Recesses magazine. He's also going to be very, very big-time famous author real soon, and I'm excited to have you on the show, Sean. Welcome.
Yeah, here's hoping for that. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It's a long process. It was a long process getting to the point I'm at, and it's the future. But it's good, and I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
Well, I don't get a lot of traditionally published authors on my show these days. Seems like everybody's got their toes dipped into the self-publishing realm. So I want to hear your story. How did you get a traditional publishing contract or agent or wherever you are in that whole scope of things?
Right. Well, I have absolutely nothing against self-publishing. It's a viable option, especially, a lot of people, that's what they've always wanted to do, and they've stuck to it, and they're very successful at it. I know Hugh Howey is the name I think of right now.
Yeah.
But for me, traditional publishing was always the choice. I wanted to see my book in a Barnes & Noble store or Books A Million or Hastings, wherever, and I wanted to do that whole Big Five agent thing. That's just, ever since I was a little kid, I'd watch movies like, this is weird, Misery, with Kathy Bates, and I saw him talking to his literary agent and all that, and despite, the horrible things that happened to him, I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do, and I just stuck with it, and I started in short stories, horror, and that's what I thought my shtick would be, because, at the time I thought, novel, good grief, and then I researched it just to see if, maybe I could do it, and I saw that you had to have a query letter and a synopsis, and I said, Lord, I ain't going to mess with that.
Okay, hang on one second, Sean. Say that again.
I kind of got away from it.
Yeah,
was
the
hired
sound
as
kind of went a little
firefighter.
weird.
And
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, it's saying the internet connection. Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, it'll come and go sometimes. Skype is funny that way.
Okay.
So back up just about 4 sentences.
Okay. Let's see. I started short stories, and at the time I was thinking, I don't want to mess with writing a query letter and a synopsis, and let alone a whole dang novel. That's just too much work. I just want to, stay in short stories and do that. But I matured and wised up. For one, I had gotten away from writing after I became a firefighter, just because, I wanted that to be my focus and to pursue that. And after my son was born in 2013, I had a lot of time on my hands because I took a whole month off to take care of him, and I started reading a lot more than I usually did. And it kind of just struck me like, why did I ever get away from, why did I hit the pause button, essentially? I can write a novel totally. So I did. I wrote one. It was about werewolf pickup artists, and I've since buried it because, like most, some people are awesome at first attempts. I apparently was not. But it got a lot of compliments from agents because I did send it out. I sent it with a query letter. I learned how to do that whole process, synopses, and I'll write a query letter all day long. But a synopsis is just, ugh, but it's just one of those things.
They're a different animal, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's almost like writing the book again.
Yeah, and with a lot less soul. You rip the soul out of the novel, and
That's true.
and typically synopses are 1 to 2 pages, maybe 3, depending on the agent or editor who requested. But I actually had an editor request a 10 to 11 page synopsis, and I thought, what? I got it to 9 pages, and I thought, look, hey, if you're cool with that, good, because I have no idea how to stretch this thing out any longer. But I learned a whole lot from that first novel, and now I'm working on my 5th. I took some time off to edit my 4th, which got me my literary agent. I was in what they call the query trenches for 2.5 years, and had some ups and a lot of downs, a lot of rejections, a lot of what they call R&Rs, or revise and resubmits, where the agent saw potential in it, but thought it really needed a lot more work in certain areas, and they did want to see it again, but I had to brush it up. But what got me my agent was a science fiction, which is about motorcycle gangs, all-female motorcycle gangs in space. And they're on this...
That's just such a neat concept.
Yeah, it's kind of like... I always tell people, when they ask for comparisons, it's Tron meets Sons of Anarchy meets Escape from New York meets The Warriors. So it's got that early 80s grindhouse sci-fi thing, which I've always been a fan of myself. Yeah. And he read it in 3 days. I was in the query trenches for 2.5 years. He reads it in 3 days and offers. So it just, like they say, it's a hurry up and go type business.
Wow. And so did you get a call?
Oh, yeah. And
I want to hear about the call.
Right. Yeah, that's it's funny about the writing community. There's always these this lingo that everybody knows what you're talking about. WIP, or WIP, stands for work in progress, and the call is a call from the agent. Yeah. I was not expecting an email that fast. I said he read it in 3 days, and so when he emailed me and said I'd like to chat, I'm freaking out. And I'm trying to not get my hopes up and all that stuff, and it be something else, or he's like going to ask some questions about the book, but it ended up being an offer. And I had other agents who were reading my previous book, because I'm the type of person, my whole thing is, the more fishing poles you have in the pond, the more chance you're going to catch a fish. A lot of people like to take time on one book at a time, and that's great too. But for me, I try to write 2 books a year. So I had to let all of them know, and then they wanted to see this new book that I had, and everybody else who I've sent this science fiction to was looking at it. And I had some counter offers, and judged it all and weighed it and made my decision. My agent is Paul Stevens with Donald Moss Literary Agency.
Which a great top-notch agency.
Oh.
So huge congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited, especially because this was the agency I sent my very first query to.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yes. I was walking around Barnes & Noble while I was still working on that Werewolf Pickup Artist book, my first one. And I saw this book. It's called The Breakout Novelist, which is a compendium or a culmination of all his previous breakout books. And so I read it and loved it and said, I'm going to send this guy a query. And it's since 3 years and 3 other novels, had sent it to other agents within the agency trying to, and one of my friends I met here in Arkansas is actually represented by an agent. She's since left there, but she was with Donald Moss at the time. So, some people don't believe in signs and stuff, but I kind of do, and it all kind of came together there at the end. So, yeah, I'm super excited.
Well, I'm so excited for you, because that's just a huge, huge thing. So many authors try for so long, and they just get rejection, and a lot of authors can't recover from that if they don't sell that book, which is obviously the book of their heart. They just don't go on. So I'm always happy when an author makes it or moves on and goes to the next level in a different direction. But, I just really encourage writers to just keep following that dream no matter what. Don't let anybody steal your dream. It's your dream.
Right. That's a very good point you bring up, is that, people sometimes get stuck on that first novel. And you're like, no, I have to sell this one. No, you don't. Your entire career, and that's what I think people should really focus on, is that this is a career that you want to develop. At least, I hope, not just a one-shot thing. And so you have to have different, books of the heart, like you mentioned. You have to keep coming up with those ideas and honestly keep writing and keep reading. That's really what it comes down to in the end.
I'm telling you, I always say, you do not want to be like one of those musicians who is a one-hit wonder. Right. You've got more than one book in you. If you've written one, you can write another and another and another. Wash, rinse, repeat. It's not that hard. Right. You just have to put your butt in a chair and do it.
Right. Very
now,
true.
I see from your website that you're a pretty good interviewer yourself. You've got interviews on your website. I was really impressed, and they're not just hoity-toity little fly-by-nighty kind of interviews. They're pretty dadgum in depth.
Thank you.
Tell me, why are you doing interviews? How do you have time to do interviews?
Well, that's the main question. How do I have time to do it with two babies at home and a full-time job on top of that? I decided from the beginning. First of all, I decided I wanted to have a website, in which I encourage every author, whether self-published, traditionally published, small press, whatever, get a website, because that's just another outlet for readers to find you. Now, I wanted to create content for the website, but I didn't want to be, have the common writing advice, and some people are really good at that. And I just didn't want to be a teardrop in the river, so to speak. So I thought, well, I learned about being a go-giver a long time ago, as opposed to a go-getter, which in my mind just means to help promote other authors, kind of like what you're doing with your podcast. Right. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to do some interviews, and that way I'm going to promote the books and call it karma or whatever you want to call it. I believe it all comes back to you, and I just love books. I don't really know any author who could say they don't like books. Well, why do you write? Right. So I focus on the genre I'm most passionate about, which is speculative fiction, science fiction, fantasy, horror, that kind of thing. And I've been blessed enough to have some pretty famous authors that I've made contact with, either through Facebook or conferences or what have you, and they've been very gracious enough to answer a few questions. And of course, if you say, hey, I'm going to promote your book, they're more inclined to answer a few questions.
Yeah, you and I met at MidSouth Conference here locally about a month or so ago, and I noticed you had an interview with the Haydens?
Nielsen Haydens, yes.
Nielsen Haydens, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I haven't had a chance to read the whole interview because we were fixing to have an interview.
Right.
But I was interested in knowing, from MidSouth Con, aside from your interview that you got with those guys, what else, what other things you had as takeaways from the conference, Was that a great experience for you?
Oh, yeah, and it was my second year at MidSouth Con, and the year before, before I had an agent or anything, I only had a few credits to my name as far as some small press anthologies and some editing work that I did. And I applied to be a guest, just a shot in the dark, and they accepted me. I was like, well, cool. That was my first con, really. And had a great time last year and said, well, I have to do it again. Especially, I grew up in Memphis. I graduated from Germantown High School. I only live 2-3 hours away. So, yeah.
We're neighbors.
Yeah, pretty much. Right across the river. And so it was a no-brainer to go back to MidSouth Con. I had a great time, and they really know what they're doing. And plus, I saw that the Nielsen Haydens were going to be there, at which my agent actually used to work for them for about 15 years at Tor Books. So it all, and that's how I kind of got my in to... I sent Patrick Nielsen Hayden an email and said, hey, I'm going to be at MidSouth Con, can we do an interview? And he was cool enough to say yes, so that's how it all came together.
Did you make it to a coffee clutch with them?
I didn't. I had to leave early Sunday morning, so I wasn't able to do that. But we sat down for about a whole hour. They are super smart, and not just in publishing. That's actually, I mean, that's their main area, of course. But I learned so much from that interview about history and
wow.
Airplanes. Even they talked about a airplane engineer who designed all these airplanes, and when he retired, they had every single one fly. They have a wealth of knowledge, and I was very thankful to even be in their presence.
How long has Tor Books been around now?
Oh goodness, I should know that based on my research. It's been a long time. I want to say definitely over 30 years.
Yeah, I think
I'd
so.
have to look at, yeah, it's a long time, and they're a huge name in science fiction and fantasy.
Yeah.
I mean, if this was Family Feud, that'd probably be the number one answer if someone asked who is a famous science fiction fantasy publisher. Tor Books would be the top. Brandon Sanderson is they publish him and a whole bunch of others. So yeah, it was a whole lot of fun.
It used to be, I think I'm right, that Tor was one of the few and only publishers left standing, quote unquote, who would accept slush.
They are right now one of the only ones. I know DAW.
They still do that. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Tor. Now they recently shut down their short fiction for Tor.com. They put a pause on that. Talking to Patrick and Teresa, they said they may start that up again, but only time will tell. I think they probably just got backlogged. But as far as novels go, and novellas, they have a novella line that they recently just started. And if you haven't read those, they are awesome novellas. And I know a few other publishers do, but Tor has always been one of the big ones.
Yeah. The thing that sticks out in my mind when I think of Tor Books is the fact that they've always been one of those who would take unsolicited submissions. You didn't have to have an agent to submit to them. And that always impressed me because there's so many agencies and publishers you can't get to without being connected. So, okay, so you've told us about your current work in progress and the fact that you're agented. So, do we have a publisher yet?
No, not yet. Right now, I'm working on that science fiction, motorcycle female gangs in space, and I'm actually the fifth book I'm working on is called Smoke Eaters, and that is firefighters versus dragons. It's a near future, kind of like Reign of Fire meets Backdraft.
I like that movie. That was a good movie.
Yeah. And meets Old Man's War. The main character's older. Actually, he's a week out from retirement. And it's in the near future when dragons return to the Earth, basically. And he finds out that he's one of the only few people who were born with a certain gift that can battle the dragon threat. And so he has to decide, I'm a week out of retirement, and now I find out I have this gift, so.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that premise, too. I can see you and I are going to have a long-standing relationship with promoting your books because you're going to have to come back on when these things are out into the world.
Yes, ma'am, definitely.
So, you went the publishing route of doing it traditionally through a New York publishing company and a New York agent, but a lot of people are going the self route. And that's just kind of like our world is going in a different direction. Used to be that was kind of taboo. And so, traditional route was really the only way to go. And now that there's so many hybrid authors, they're doing both. They're doing traditional, they're doing self-publishing. My question for you is, will you ever go the hybrid route? Do you think you'll ever see yourself self-publishing?
The saying is, never say never. At this point in time, I really don't see myself self-publishing. But, you never know what might happen in the future. There's plenty of traditionally published authors that were going along with all these traditionally published books, and then all of a sudden they want to write something that either doesn't match the market according to their agent or publishers, or they can't find a home for it, whatever the case may be, and that's one way they decide, I'm going to self-publish this. And just as there's so many different authors, there's so many different reasons for pursuing a hybrid career or a self-publishing career or traditional. So I guess to answer your question is only time will tell.
That's a definite maybe.
My thing, though, about it is that I have no idea how to go about it, and so many other people are much better at that sort of thing. And that's one of the reasons I chose traditional and public. Mary Robinette Kowal says it best, I think, where traditional route, you have all these other people who are doing all the work for you, as opposed to self-publishing, where it's all on you. And like I said, some people are awesome at that. I don't know if I am, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, so I always ask toward the end of my shows for my authors to give a bit of advice to an aspiring author. Tell them something you wish you had known, something you wish somebody had told you.
Okay. And what I'm about to say probably has been said a whole bunch of times by different people, but it remains true. First, read a lot and write a lot. I don't believe you have to write every day. I sure would love to, but it just doesn't work out that way. At the Firehouse, we may have a slow day, and I can get a solid 800 to 1,000 words in, which is pretty much where I like to stay a day. Some people can do 3,000 words a day. I don't know how they do it, and I don't know how many of those words actually stay around in the book. But definitely, and read a lot, because, man, you get ideas, you learn what you like and what works for you and what doesn't work. And that's the whole great thing about fiction, is that it's so subjective. There are many popular books that I have no idea how they got so popular, because I said, okay, I'll give this thing a try, and it's just, I can't make it past 50 pages. But that's just me. So read a lot, write a lot, and also don't get hung up on the market. I am aware of it, and I always try to be aware of it, but at the same time, don't let certain those mental voices say, oh, don't write that because there's no market for that sort of thing. Or motorcycle girl gangs in space. I mean, that's a crazy idea. And when it first hit me, I was like, man, no. And I pushed forward. Actually, the funny story about that is that it came from a tweet. I was giving some writing advice, like you're asking me for, and I said something to the effect of, don't just make your main character in your motorcycle gang book going for a heist. Make it to where she's going for a heist and trying to shut down a warlock, or something like that.
Yeah.
And an agent friend that I knew went on there and she said, hey, that's a great idea. And I said, yeah, you're right. What if it was in space? And I don't use warlocks in it. It's since kind of morphed and changed to figure out. But yeah, just when those ideas pop in your head and they don't leave you alone, to me, those are the best ones. The ones you don't even have to write down. So I guess all that to say, don't let anything hold you back, especially your own fears.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm telling you. You were talking about authors should read. What are you reading?
Currently, a lot of books. I've kind of got myself in a trap to where I have a whole lot of books I'm trying to read at the same time. Right now, I'm reading Mike Cole's Gemini Cell. I was thinking Javelin Rain, but Javelin Rain is actually the one that just came out. It's the sequel to that one. So Gemini Cell by Mike Cole. I'm also reading The Summoning by Bentley Little, which is an older book. I love going to library sales because you can get them for 50 cents to $1. And I rack up. I love that. I also finished Sam Sykes' The City Stained Red, and the sequel to that one just came out, which was The Mortal Tally. So just kind of to promote those guys. I don't know them personally other than Facebook, but I always like to promote good stuff. So,
Well, then you just need to go out and read everything I've written.
Very true.
So, do you ever post reviews on Goodreads of books that you read?
Well, I do. I love using Goodreads. The thing about reviews and stuff is I try, unless I just absolutely love it, I won't. I definitely, the rule I've developed for myself, especially an up and coming author, is not to say anything bad. You know, like your mom always said, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. Right. So if it's something I love, yeah, absolutely, I put it on Goodreads.
Well, so we can find it on Goodreads. Now you get to tell us where all my famous, fabulous fans, followers, and listeners can find you. You know they're going to go and be in the Padre.
Yeah.
Following you around when you become famous.
Very true, yeah.
So you have a website, and it is at?
Yes. It is SeanGrigsby.com.
And you have any other sites, Facebook, Twitter?
Yeah, the best way to reach me is Twitter, which is at Sean Grigsby. I try to keep it simple, just keep it my name. You know, nothing weird like motorcycle girl 500 at gmail.com or something.
Well, you might think about
that's
nailing down the title of your book. Nail that down as a domain that you want to pay for, because that could become famous.
Yep, Daughters of Forgotten Light is the name of it. So that's why I like coming on stuff like this. I get ideas too.
See there?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, Twitter, you can find me at Sean Grigsby, and on my website, SeanGrigsby.com, there's an Ask Me, Tell Me link. You can ask me or tell me anything. I try to get in touch with everybody, even if it's just to say thank you. You can also sign up for my newsletter. Mm-hmm.
You have a newsletter. That's awesome. Good information to have. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be one of the first subscribers to your newsletter, because I want to follow you around. So when you become famous, I can say, I knew him when.
Very good. I think you won't. I think the first spot's already taken, but you'll be up there.
I'll be in the first 100,000.
There you go. That's what counts.
Sean, thanks so much for coming on Writer Groupie tonight. I really have had a great time chatting with you, and I really do want for you to come back.
Oh, hey, definitely. I had a great time. I appreciate you having me.
I look forward to seeing you again, maybe at another con around our local area, since we're neighbors and everything. And until then, I will bid you adieu. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Writer Groupie. For booking information, show notes, and more, visit writergroupie.net.